Welcome to Victim's View, a show produced by the Solicitor General's Office. I'm Carmen Smith, the Solicitor General. The Solicitor General's Office prosecutes misdemeanor cases in state court. Since Fulton County is very diverse, we often encounter victims who need assistance. RAKSHA addresses the domestic violence and sexual violence in the South Asian community. Today we're talking with the Executive Director, Aparna, Bhattacharyya. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Carmen. It's great to be here.
Well, give us a little background. What does RAKSHA mean?
RAKSHA means protection in many South Asian languages.
And so when we say that, that really kind of sums up what your organization does?
In a way, I would like to say that it means that we're here to give tools for individuals to protect themselves. We ourselves can't protect individuals, but we'd like to give our community members the tools so that they can, of course, protect themselves and find ways to find their own rights and hear their own voices.
Well, give us a little background. How did it get started?
RAKSHA was started by a number of South Asian women. Some were from Augusta that kind of came together because they had seen a situation where an individual was a victim of domestic violence in Augusta. And one of the women that started it was an attorney in New York. She was taking a break from her work, decided to come to Atlanta and start RAKSHA. And what she did was got a bunch of us who were already active in the community to come together to start this organization. So for the first 2.5 years, we were all volunteer, checking a voicemail system, working out of our homes and meeting individuals in coffee houses.
And when was this? What year was this?
1995.
Oh, that long ago.
Yep, we'll be 18 years this year.
And your role is as Executive Director, is that correct?
Yes, I am the Executive Director. I started out as a volunteer the first 3 years, and then when we first got a decent amount of funding, I became the first full-time staff member.
Well, speaking of that, this is not a state organization, it's not a county organization, this is a nonprofit, correct?
Yes, it is.
So you do have contact information if people want to find out more information about the organization?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Could you give us that number or
sure, our number
website?
Is www.raksha.org, and our phone number is 404-842-0725 or 404-876-0670.
And you said that you have volunteers, so give us some kind of idea of the things that a volunteer would do for you.
We have volunteers and interns, and they do anything from helping provide case management to going to court with individuals to helping us do outreach and education within the South Asian community. The South Asian community is very large. It consists of individuals from Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Pakistan, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. And there's probably about 100,000 individuals in, entire metro Atlanta.
I didn't realize it was that large.
Yeah.
So we're talking about a number of different languages, I would
Right.
also.
So there's over 20 different languages and probably, 5 major religions. And then we're broken down into subsects of what state in South Asia you're from. So even then there's a huge divide. There's like 50 plus cultural and religious organizations out there. So to do the outreach, we need a lot of volunteers to help us kind of bridge that gap because we're spread out all through metro Atlanta and we're so diverse that we need volunteers to help us do that. And volunteers also help us do fundraising, help us with our events, do anything for helping us with websites, sort through our donations, all kinds of stuff.
So obviously you have a very large staff, correct?
No, it's actually a pretty small staff. We have myself as the executive director, we have a therapist on staff, and then we have an advocate and a part-time child therapist.
I also assume you have a board of directors?
Yes, we do, and they represent the South Asian community.
Would you give me some kind of idea of the makeup, or are they all women? Or
No, we actually have a male attorney, and we've always had men on our board because we feel like this work is not just a women's issue, it's an issue that affects the entire community, and we've been really lucky to have men on our boards. We have, a lot of them are attorneys, we have individuals from the community. I'm trying to think, we have a lot of attorneys on our board.
how large is this board?
Probably about 7 or 8 individuals.
Okay.
And we have one that's an event planner. So it's quite a diverse number of board members, but most of them are usually from the South Asian community.
And when you say the South Asian community, again, give me some idea of what countries that are representative of that group.
Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Pakistan, Nepal, and Sri Lanka.
Okay.
Always have to count it off.
And so the vision of RAKSHA is what exactly?
To open doors to a stronger and healthier South Asian community. And we will do that through support services, education, and advocacy. So basically, we want to give our community the tools to really live strong and healthy lives. And to us, healthy means violence-free.
Oh, that is something that we all aspire to.
Exactly.
And I would assume also, do you partner with other groups? And
Absolutely. Like your office is one of my favorite offices to partner with. That we have a great relationship. That whenever there's someone in Fulton County, that we will provide supportive services. And sometimes individuals may not feel comfortable coming to us. There's a stigma sometimes going in with your own community, and your office has been fabulous in being able to provide counseling, support services. And I know that whenever we send someone, I know y'all do a great job in making sure folks are represented in the court system and that their voices are heard. And I always know that I'll always get the information, and if we need to be there, we'll be there. But you're one great organization. We partner with a number of shelters. Since we don't have a shelter, we have to partner with the shelters in our community, and we may provide like the culturally appropriate foods. We have our own support group that individuals can come to. So we kind of work like a team with the individuals that are doing this work, but we have to partner with our community because we can't be everywhere. You know, I said our community's everywhere, so we've got to partner with many of the other nonprofits and community services.
well, I think with working with so many nonprofits, we've also come to the realization that we don't have enough shelters overall in Georgia, let alone Fulton County, and also the confidentiality that we have to be careful about maybe potential batterers finding out where these shelters are. And I was wondering if within your organization, have you encountered a lot of that where you have to, I guess, reach out to the community and make sure they understand that you're there to help the victims, not necessarily help the batterer or the defendant?
Yeah, I mean, of course we do, and you know, we're here to help the victim or survivors get the services that they need and provide services. We'll help the batterer only in the situation where the survivor asks us, like, can you help us find a batterer's intervention program? I want the batterer to stop. So of course, then we've got to collaborate with family violence intervention programs, or you know, I guess batterer's intervention programs, interchangeable words, in case that's what the survivor is asking for. But yeah, most of our focus is to provide survivors with that support.
And I guess also to provide them with the resources, because nobody asks to be a victim, and when you are, you need some place to go. So that's great that you guys are there to help them with different referrals.
Yeah, and it's such a pleasure for us to be there for the community to do that.
And when you say that you have the victims, at heart, their safety and everything, and welfare at heart, we've also encountered where it is helpful when we reach out to organizations that they do feel better if there are people from their own community helping them through this process. So it is a relationship that we do also enjoy, to have you as an organization that helps us with the South Asian community. And I also would say that you help men and women as well, right? It's not just all women.
Yeah, actually, we've helped men who've been victims of crime, help provide them with the counseling and support. A lot of times we're also helping them file for something called a U visa, which is a crime victims visa, which I know y'all also play a great role in making sure that victims get certified when they need it and when they, of course, are eligible to get that resource. We also help children. We have a children's support group. So one of the things that we do is, we'll have a women's support group, and at the same time we have the kids support group, and it's focused on art therapy, so that children can express themselves, but we can also if they've been exposed to violence, break that cycle of violence so that they can learn to have healthy tools, to have healthy relationships.
Now, I know you help a lot of different communities, but is your base in Fulton County, DeKalb, or where's your base?
Our base is in DeKalb County, but we, of course, work with we've got a high population of South Asians in North Fulton, and actually that's one of our top counties are where we provide services. So our base is DeKalb County, but we serve Fulton, Gwinnett, DeKalb, Clayton, Cobb, wherever our community calls us, we tend to provide support services.
And I would imagine that Gwinnett is also a very large.
Our two top ones are Fulton and Gwinnett.
Gwinnett. Okay. And you gave us the website before. If somebody wanted just to go on to your website and find some more information, is it acceptable if you also wanted to make a donation to your organization and that sort of thing as well?
Yes, we have a link that says donate now. So if people wanted to provide a donation to support the work, yes, they could absolutely do that.
And you provide your services at no cost, correct?
No cost, right.
Because you are a nonprofit.
Yes. And actually, it's no cost for any victim of sexual or domestic violence. I think we've provided sliding scale for general counseling because we are the only nonprofit that is geared towards providing counseling services to the South Asian community. So we've had a few individuals that might come in that they're depressed because they're dealing with grief, loss of a loved one or something like that. And then it's very minimal.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We're going to take a quick break, but stay tuned because when we come back, we're going to learn more about RAKSHA. Welcome back to Victim's View. I'm talking with Aparna, Executive Director of RAKSHA. And I'm probably pronouncing it wrong.
RAKSHA.
RAKSHA. Excuse me. Would you please tell us a little bit more about the services you provide?
So we provide a number of services. One is crisis intervention. Individuals may call our helpline and ask for services. They don't know what's available to them. So we would just let them know. We would do an intake and let them know what services are available to them. A lot of times we also provide support and legal advocacy, which that could be connecting to your office, for example, or connecting to attorneys like Atlanta Volunteer Lawyers so that they can get a protective order. We would also, we provide our own counseling services, so we do individual and family therapy as well as support groups for women who have been in domestic violence situations, as well as support groups for children who've witnessed violence.
Are your counselors on staff or are they volunteers?
They are on staff. They are on staff, so they're available.
Excellent.
We also, a lot of what we do is also training and education. So and I think that's probably how we see each other quite a bit is us training our community partners on how to work with not only the South Asian community, but immigrants overall. Letting them know what the challenges immigrants may face, what barriers they may have to getting help, letting them know about immigration relief because lots of times that's a barrier, and then of course language access, the importance of providing interpretation and translation for survivors when they're coming forward.
And I think you've worked very hard, I've noticed, in reaching out to all communities so that they are all aware of what
Right.
services you provide. And I think that, as we all know, domestic violence cuts across all kinds of racial, social, economic
Absolutely.
lines. So we all have to deal with a diverse number of victims, no matter where they come from. They all have to, have some sort of help, and providing those resources is great. I know you probably do some crisis intervention and safety planning and that kind of thing, correct?
Of course, we're always doing safety planning, connecting folks to resources, and a lot of times the clients that we work with, we've probably had for years because it might be that they've gotten out of the crisis situation, maybe they've gotten the protective order, or maybe something is stabilized, but maybe they might be looking for a job and need help in figuring out how to support themselves. So I feel like individuals will keep coming back. There's some people who have been with us more than 10 years.
Now, how can you help people get jobs? Now, if you say that, on air, you may get a lot more calls.
Well, it's not that we're helping people get jobs, but we're helping prepare them, letting them know where to look, how to get their resume, because a lot of survivors of violence, at least the ones we work, may not have worked. They may not have worked in their home country, or they've just gotten here and they're just figuring out how to work. So just the simple stuff of helping them fill out an application and helping them figure out what's best for them to do. So that's more the coaching and providing them support, because sometimes that's one of the biggest things that might keep a survivor from leaving is, how do I support myself? And as we've known in the economic times, a lot of survivors have stayed in the situations because it's hard to find a job and find a way to support themselves.
Have you found that there's a language barrier that could also cause some problems with
Absolutely. There's a lot of fear. Even though an individual may understand English, they may not feel comfortable speaking English in public. And
Not
so
comfortable speaking English. Explain that a little
it's just
bit.
the confidence, right? Like I may understand and I might hesitate, and while you may understand English, they may think that individuals may not understand them. It's kind of, maybe they have more of a British English accent, right? And they may think that the Southerners here may not understand them. So there might be divide in accents as much as, so they may speak English, but they may feel that individuals may not understand their accents. So that sometimes is a barrier. And so they may not have the confidence to speak, even though they may understand English.
Well, as a prosecutor, we've also run into problems with cultural differences in respects to law enforcement. So how do you handle those cases when there seems to be a fear of cooperation as far with law enforcement because they feel as though, I'm assuming that they may also get into trouble by doing so?
Right, and there's a reality to that. There's a reality that depending on what your immigration status is, you can be legally here, but once you're arrested, if you're on a green card or a temporary immigrant status, that does affect your immigration status. So there is a lot of fear to contact law enforcement. And that's a big barrier for individuals. And there's a lot of misinformation about our state law, HB 87, where individuals are more hesitant to call the police. In fact, they're scared to even talk to advocates about their immigration status because they're afraid somehow it's going to be turned into the state. And even in talking to us, as a nonprofit, we're not a government agency, there's a lot of hesitation and fear. And so there's a lot of education we have to do about the safety of individuals reaching out for help. But there's a lot of just confusion all around about that. So we have to do a lot of education and building trust with a lot of our community members. But there's also the cultural thing. I don't know, back in their home country, they may have a lot of distrust for law enforcement. It could be that the law enforcement officers have not responded to domestic and sexual violence cases. It could also be that there's corruption. There's a fear that all you have to do is bribe the police officer. And
of course, you don't have that here.
Yeah, of course not. But the reality is that's the fear, because that's what their experience with law enforcement, which makes it more difficult for individuals to access help. And they may not think they'll be believed or trusted, or they may assume that the officers have anti-immigrant sentiment.
But I think that also goes both ways because your organization has helped educate us as prosecutors of things that, if it's not my culture, things that may not occur to me as a problem,
Right.
that until you explain it to me, I don't understand why there is that certain behavior. For example, when I first got started in this area of practice, it always concerned me when a victim and a defendant were in the same room, and it seemed as though the victim did not have anybody on her side, so to speak,
Absolutely.
and the usually the male would bring in a lawyer, and then I always felt as though that was so wrong to have her in there. And as a prosecutor, we don't, advocate for that. We ask that they be separated, and we try to talk to the victim separately from the defendant. But there was something about, in some cultures, that you just follow suit with whatever the male tells you. There's more a dominant thing than anything else. So that kind of thing is something that would not occur to me. I would think that if somebody had hurt me, I would not want to, be in the same room or have him tell me what to do and when to do it. But you have to learn there are different cultures and different ways of thinking and try to address those things.
And it could also be a safety issue overall too, right? If she's seen as talking to you, then it could also have other consequences. But there also could be elders, so it really depends on the situation of who we're talking to, right?
And they have to understand, and in prosecution, we have to have their testimony. I can't testify for you.
Right.
So that's another, that fear of going to court. And you guys have helped us with that as well, and we have victim advocates. They may not understand the culture as well as you understand the culture. So I think with organizations like yours, being that support, being that resource, being that comfort zone for the community is just great, and continue with your good work. I would also, say that it is great that you reach out to everyone, because we all need to understand each other better.
Yeah, absolutely.
All,
Absolutely.
And growing up, the teenagers, you help the kids.
Yeah.
Growing up in this society, they need to understand that they have rights, and, everybody should be safe in their own home. So again, my hat's off to your efforts to educate the community as well as law enforcement and prosecution.
It's been our absolute pleasure. It's always been a gift for y'all to be resources. And here's the reality is y'all are assets for when we need you too. So when something's not going right, to have that relationship with the solicitor's office or law enforcement, it's been a gift that we know that we can call upon each other to provide those supportive services, and that y'all are always willing to call us and ask us for help. That, you know,
yes.
not everybody's so willing to do that. So I think that makes we're all working for a stronger and better community and healthier community, and that we're all trying to provide that support for our community members. And I think it's a gift when we all work together.
And I think that when you have such diversity, even within your own community, that is a challenge. That is a challenge.
It is. We're constantly learning, even within our own communities, right? There's always new cultures and new traditions that we're learning, but because I'm from one community and there's like so many others, so we're constantly always learning.
And as a nonprofit, I'm sure, just like in government, we don't have big advertising bucks. So it's difficult for people to find out about you. So you do have to engage in that outreach.
Exactly. We've got to be seen in the community just to even build trust.
And when it comes to going to community meetings, and I'm assuming you're invited to schools and things of that nature?
Schools, more colleges. So we do a lot because there's a couple of South Asian sororities that have invited us out, and they've done a lot of stuff. It's Sigma Rho, and we do a lot with them. And it's great when we can go out to universities. And recently we were called out for a vigil at Georgia Tech. So we do a lot more with the universities. School counselors will call us. So, we will come out when there's a situation, and a school counselor will call us to get help with a South Asian student.
Oh, that is great. Spreading the word through the community,
Absolutely.
That's great. I want to thank Aparna Bhattacharyya for being here today. I'll be back with some final thoughts about RAKSHA after this. RAKSHA's mission is to promote a stronger and healthier South Asian community. We are grateful for RAKSHA for helping victims of domestic violence and sexual violence. They help others learn how to serve the needs of the community. We join their efforts in helping victims and improving communities. I want to thank Aparna for joining us today, and thank you for watching Victims View. We'll see you next time.